For today's task, we're going to be using a whole range of resources. We're going to use your Year 8 Science My Classes, so you'll need to log on and go there. And we're going to be in this area here, the greenhouse effect and climate change. So we're going to do a little bit of revision about the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. And then we're going to go on and see the impact of those cycles on planet Earth and humans and the plants and animals that exist on planet Earth. And we're going to look at long-term, what the predictions are about how that will affect planet Earth. So log in, go to My Classes. When you get into My Classes, I want you to click on this little icon here, and this will take you to a website called pearltrees.com. So what I've done is I've put together a whole lot of resources that relate to our topic that we're working through now. And as you can see, when it opens up, you can see that this branch of the Pearl Trees deals with the carbon cycle, and this branch here deals with the nitrogen cycle, and this branch here deals with the greenhouse effect and global warming, etc. So I've collected a whole lot of resources. They include games, interactions, animations, YouTube clips, all sorts of things. So my suggestion is that you firstly have a bit of a review of, not that one, of this sheet from last lesson. You have a quick read through that and make sure that you're up to speed with the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. And then you can go in and you can have a bit of a play with these things here. So if you click on this, you'll see that this is actually an animation that you can work through. This is a carbon cycle game, and how Pearl Trees works, and this one's an animation obviously, how Pearl Trees works is you choose the one that you want to use, you double click on it, and it takes you to that website. So as you can see, this one here, it's got some instructions, but basically it's just an animation showing you the movement of the carbon dioxide in and out of the different parts of the ecosystem. So the blue represents carbon being taken in, and the red represents carbon dioxide being released. So that's that one. So if I click back to here, it takes me back to the Pearl Tree. This one here is a different animation, and you can see over here. So I double click on that one, and this one requires me to actually, when it loads up, to actually label, to click on the words, and it will show you where the carbon is moving. So this is looking at the carbon cycle. So I can look at, yep, carbon's going from the plants, being stored in the dead plant material, which we then use in terms of petrol, natural gas, all that sort of stuff. So that's a bit of a revision of that. Same sort of thing for the nitrogen cycle. So you can go in through here. This is, again, another task that you can do. It just sort of walks you through what's happening. Again, it's an animation reminding you about how things work. So use those to revise, and then you can move on to the greenhouse effect, and there's information, and there's diagrams, and there's whole websites that have animations, and there's not so much a game as an interactive there. So all of these sorts of things are really extra ways of you getting your head around all of these concepts. Now, in terms of what it is that you need to write up or complete for this lesson. So you're exploring all of this, and you're also getting a handout, and that handout has two sides to it. So this is the first one, and this is talking about how the ice cores in Antarctica and the Arctic allow us to have information about what's happened with the carbon cycle over time, in particular the carbon dioxide levels in our atmosphere. Now, as you read through this, you'll find information. This probably looks quite familiar because it's almost identical to the diagram we had on our handout last lesson. And there are some questions here. And for this page, I would like you to answer questions 1 through to 10. Don't worry about 11, but 1 through to 10. In your Pearl Trees, you actually have in here some information and an activity about the ice cores as well. So this sort of links in with that, and you can have a look at this activity here and you work through it and see if you can understand what's happening with the graphs. And this is pretty much like what was on the sheet that that you're going to answer the questions from. So you do that first. Then you'll do the second part of the sheet, which is living in a greenhouse. So reading all of this information. Here, I want you to do questions 1 through to 11. And again, these are going to form your notes about this information. And in the Pearl Trees, you've got a whole lot of resources to help you if you are a bit stuck, because there's a whole lot of things here about the greenhouse effect as well. So there's another diagram, a couple more interactive sites, all of that sort of stuff. So all of these things support one another. By the end of this lesson, I would like you to have an understanding of the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. That's a bit deeper than we had last lesson. An understanding of the greenhouse effect, what it is, the fact that it's always been around, but that it is increasing over time, and what's increasing it, what we can do to at least halt the progress of it, if not try and reverse it a bit, and what the impact will be on our planet if we don't do anything about it. So that's sort of what we need you to have your head around by the end of the lesson. Okay, so the questions on those 2 sheets are what you will have completed by next lesson. So that's your written task, and exploring these and doing the different interactives is your interactive task. So good luck with all that, girls.